people in the world today who have committed, actually they don't live today, but they lived in the world, and they committed suicide because they had such a guilty conscience. Now, can you imagine what it would be like to bear upon yourself the guilt of every sin that has been committed, is being committed, or will be committed in human history? Actually, that is what crushed out the life of Jesus. That's what broke His heart. Jesus did not die of the wounds that He received. Even the soldier was surprised when he came. The centurion came and found Him dead, and he thrust a spear through His side. He was surprised that he wasn't dead because the thieves were still alive. Because Jesus did not die from His physical wounds. Jesus died of a broken heart because His Father, at least he felt, had forsaken Him. He could not see the reconciling face of His Father because He was bearing the guilt of the whole human race. Notice 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 21. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 21 says, for He, that is, this talk about God the Father, for He made Him, that is, God the Father made Jesus, who knew no sin, to be what? To be sin for us, that we might become the righteousness of God in Him. Who made Jesus sin? God the Father made Jesus sin, that we might be found what? That we might be found the righteousness of God in Him. I want you also to notice the following statement that we find in Isaiah chapter 53, verses 4 through 6. You know, it describes vividly why Jesus was suffering this intense agony, what it meant that He was drinking the cup of God's wrath. It says there, surely He has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we esteemed Him stricken, smitten by whom? By God. Who smote Jesus? His own Father. You say, why is that? Why did He get the cup of His Father's wrath? He was holy and righteous. He always did what pleased His Father. Why did that happen to Jesus? Because Jesus was taking our place. Notice, surely He has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed Him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon Him, and by His stripes we are healed. All we, like sheep, have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way. And now notice the last part of verse 6. And the Lord has laid on Him the iniquity of us all. Who put on Jesus the iniquity? The Father did. Who gave Him the cup? The Father did. Can you imagine what that must have been like? Do you think the Father suffered as well as Jesus? Folks, you know, sometimes we talk about the sufferings of Jesus, but sometimes I wonder if the suffering of God the Father was not even greater than the suffering of Jesus Christ. Because both of them were separated from one another because Jesus was bearing the sin of the world. Romans chapter 8 and verse 32. Romans chapter 8 and verse 32 is a beautiful verse. It says, He who did not spare His own Son. God didn't what? He did not spare His own Son, but delivered Him up. Who delivered Him up? The Father. But delivered Him up. Why? For us all. How shall He not with Him also freely give us all things? Let me ask you, does God the Father love us as much as He loves Jesus? That's what this verse is saying. He did not spare His own Son because He loved us as much as He loves Jesus.